a man is left fighting for his life. His spine shattered after a head-on crash in Sydney's most exclusive suburb. The driver? A 23-year-old Chinese heiress in a $1 million Rolls Royce. And the next morning, she walked free. No jail, no bail, nothing. For anyone else, this would mean years in prison. But Lanlan Yang wasn't anyone else. Because what followed exposed something darker. Whispers of protection and power stretching far beyond Australia. To see how it began, we rewind to a silent Sydney street at 3:30 a.m. when one man's life was destroyed, and an heiress's secrets began to unravel.
It is the Sydney car crash that has just about all of China talking. Lanlan Yang was allegedly drunk when she smashed her Rolls Royce.
Rose Bay, Sydney, 3:30 a.m. A white Rolls Royce Cullinan, worth more than $1 million, tears into oncoming traffic. Crash. The sound of twisted metal echoes through the harbor streets. Inside the van she hit, 52-year-old chauffeur, Georgios Placeres. His body is crushed, his spine fractured, hips shattered, ribs splintered, organs ruptured. He would undergo hours of surgery just to survive. But from the wreckage of the Rolls Royce steps Lanlan Yang, 23 years old, untouched. Police on the scene record that she allegedly failed a roadside breath test. At the station, she refuses the official analysis, a refusal so serious it often brings harsher punishment than the test itself. By every measure, this should have been the end of her freedom. A $1 million crash. A man clinging to life. A driver refusing to cooperate. But what happened next defied every expectation. Because while Georgios lay in hospital, fighting for survival, Lanlan Yang was back in her penthouse before sunrise. Free, protected, untouchable. And that's when Sydney began to whisper. Who was this young woman, and why did the law bend around her? As reporters scrambled to cover the crash, one question echoed louder than any other. Who exactly was Lanlan Yang? They started digging, and what they found was almost nothing. And somehow, that nothing was more unsettling than any scandal they could have uncovered. Here's what we do know. She lived in a luxury penthouse in Sydney's eastern suburbs, a place where views of the harbor sell for millions. She owned not one, but 2 Rolls Royces. The white one wrecked in the crash, and a Tiffany blue Cullinan still parked safely at home. Neighbors described her as polite, impeccably dressed, but rarely seen, like a ghost who somehow left behind nothing but the glint of luxury cars. But here's what made it strange. No job, no business registration, no public footprint, no social media presence, not even a LinkedIn page. In an age where everyone leaves a trail, Lanlan Yang seemed to have none. A 23-year-old living like a billionaire, with no visible source of wealth. And that's when speculation turned darker. Because if her past couldn't be traced in Australia, maybe her protection came from somewhere else. Her next court appearance would only deepen the mystery. In New South Wales, cases like this usually end one way: behind bars, or with bail so high, escape is impossible. Look at surgeon Rhys Bellinge. After a fatal crash, the court set his bail at $1 million Australian dollars, then rejected it entirely, calling him too much of a flight risk. That's the standard. When someone's life is on the line, judges don't take chances. So when Lanlan Yang stood before the court, the expectation was clear: a massive bail or no bail at all. Instead, she was released. Conditional bail, no cash surety, a curfew, a driving ban, and a requirement to stay at her Sydney penthouse each night. That was it. For ordinary people, this kind of crash means jail. For Yang, it meant a quiet ride home. The media erupted. Legal experts were baffled, and Sydney began to whisper the same question. What kind of power could bend the justice system like this. While headlines obsessed over Lanlan Yang, the man she hit was left in the shadows. Georgios Placeras, a 52-year-old chauffeur, wasn't a household name. He was a working man whose job was to get others home safely. But after that night in Rose Bay, his life changed forever. He spent weeks in hospital, enduring multiple surgeries, his future uncertain. Doctors described his injuries as severe and life-altering, the kind that don't heal cleanly, even with the best care. And yet, as speculation swirled around Lanlan Yang's wealth and connections, Georgios' story barely made headlines. His pain was drowned out by the mystery of the woman who hit him. The contrast was impossible to ignore. A working man quietly fighting for recovery. An heiress, shielded from consequences, untouched by the system. And that imbalance kept public anger alive, because while one life was broken in plain sight, the forces protecting Lanlan Yang were still hidden in the shadows. His story was proof of how uneven the scales had become. One man's suffering weighed against an empire of privilege. And no matter how the courts ruled, the damage to his life could never be undone. But as Georgios struggled in silence, a storm was exploding elsewhere, whispers spreading across Sydney and far beyond. The moment Lanlan Yang walked free, those whispers spread faster than any official report could. On WeChat groups, diaspora forums, and overseas Chinese media, the story caught fire. Even on the mainland, posts about her exploded onto Weibo before being scrubbed within hours. And that only made people more suspicious. Because when stories vanish in China, it usually means they hit too close to power. That vacuum of truth was quickly filled with wild speculation. Some said she had quietly posted tens of millions in bail, but that the figure was being hidden from the public. Others claimed her bank accounts held sums so massive they rivaled Australia's national deposits. None of it could be verified. But the speed with which those posts disappeared made people wonder if the truth was being buried. And then came the nickname. She was suddenly known online as a heavenly dragon. In the anime One Piece, the heavenly dragons are untouchable aristocrats, villains so powerful that even the law doesn't apply to them. For many watching, Lanlan Yang looked exactly like that. Not just wealthy, not just lucky, but a red princess, born into a level of protection most people can't even imagine. And that protection wasn't just influence. Soon, the world would see it had a face, and it was following her everywhere. Just when the story seemed impossible to untangle, another detail surfaced, one that pushed the whispers into the realm of state power. Investigative bloggers claimed a man shadowed Lanlan Yang wherever she went. Not a driver, not a butler, a bodyguard, and not just any bodyguard. He wasn't from a Sydney security firm. He was said to be a decorated soldier from China's People's Armed Police, rumored to have ties to the Zhongnanhai Guard Unit, the same force that protects China's most powerful leaders. None of it was confirmed by Australian authorities. But to those watching online, it suggested something extraordinary. Lanlan Yang wasn't just another wealthy student. She was moving under protection, usually reserved for China's ruling elite. And if that was true, who exactly was she? The mystery deepened when a new voice appeared online. An anonymous poster calling himself Jonathan claimed her English name was Wendy Yang, and that her fortune came from one of the murkiest business links between China and Australia: iron ore quotas. Here's why that mattered. China buys more iron ore than any country on Earth. Australia supplies much of it. But in China, only select state-linked companies control the right to import it. Those quotas are worth billions. According to Jonathan, Yang's family was tied to Sinosteel, a massive state-owned enterprise. They didn't just profit from trade. They profited from party connections. He even pointed to other elite families who had built empires in Sydney the same way, including relatives of former Politburo members, and even whispers about Xi Jinping's extended family owning property in Australia. And then Jonathan vanished. His posts disappeared overnight. His account wiped. Before going dark, he left a single chilling message. The police came to me, but he didn't mean Australian police. He meant Chinese police in Australia. With Jonathan gone, the internet filled the gap with even bigger theories. Some claimed Lanlan Yang was Xi Jinping's niece, part of the hidden business empires his family had quietly built in Australia. Others went further, arguing she wasn't a niece at all, but a secret daughter. Screenshots spread claiming her real name was Xi Minglin, supposedly born in 2002 to a well-known actress once linked to Xi. Supporters pointed to side-by-side photos, claiming she shared a striking resemblance with Xi's mother, Qi Xin. None of it could be proven. But in the vacuum left by censorship, every blurry screenshot looked like evidence. Here's the only verifiable fact. Xi does have one acknowledged daughter, Xi Mingzi, who studied at Harvard under a false name, flanked by layers of security. Her life has been carefully hidden from the public. And to many watching, Lanlan Yang's treatment in Australia looked eerily similar. If she really was connected to Xi's bloodline, it would explain everything: the silence, the censorship, and the protection that bent courts in another country. Because this wasn't just about a crash in Rose Bay. It was about what Beijing might be willing to do to protect one of its own. And if that was true, the proof wouldn't appear in a courtroom. It would show up in the sudden shifts of international relations. In the weeks after the crash, Australia's relationship with China suddenly thawed. For years, Beijing had blocked mainland Australian apples, shutting the door on an entire industry. Then, almost overnight, that 15-year ban was lifted. Days later, one of Australia's biggest mining companies, Fortescue Metals, announced it had secured a multi-billion yuan loan from Chinese banks, a deal struck with remarkable speed. On paper, these were just trade moves, normal diplomacy, nothing to do with the car crash in Sydney. But the timing was impossible to ignore. Australia had just released a young Chinese woman under shockingly lenient terms. China had just handed back concessions worth millions. Coincidence? Maybe. But for those watching closely, it looked like the kind of quiet backroom understanding that never makes the headlines, where trade deals and diplomacy smooth over embarrassing scandals. And if that's true, then one near-fatal crash in Rose Bay had just bent international relations. August 15th, the day Lanlan Yang was due back in court. Media crews camped outside the courthouse, live streamers aimed their cameras, and Sydney braced for its first clear look at the mysterious heiress. But when her name was called, the doors never opened. Instead, Yang appeared. By video link, carefully controlled, image managed, her face hidden from the waiting crowd. Even as her case became an international spectacle, she remained a ghost. No interviews, no statements, no answers. Meanwhile, the man she hit, Georgios Placeres, lay in recovery, his body rebuilt by steel rods and surgeries, his future uncertain. His life had been permanently shattered. And Lanlan Yang, she was still invisible, still shielded, still protected. Because that's how power works. It doesn't just save you from consequences, it saves you from scrutiny. The crash in Rose Bay lasted seconds, but the questions it raised still linger. Because if one young woman's late-night drive can leave a man fighting for survival, and at the same time trigger whispers of elite protection, censorship, and quiet diplomacy, then what else is being buried? What other scandals vanish with a single phone call? What other secrets are hidden behind the polished walls of power? Because once you see how power protects its own, you start to wonder, how many scandals never even reach the surface? How many names like Lanlan Yang will we never hear at all? And if you thought this story was shocking, wait until you see Rosma Mansour, the self-proclaimed First Lady who stole from a nation and tried to escape justice, but whose days may finally be numbered. That investigation is right here. And next, watch for our deep dive into Jack Ma's return to Alibaba. We all know his rise and disappearance. But what we don't know is why he vanished, why he reappeared, and why, years later, he's suddenly back. I'm John, and this is Silk Street, where we expose the scandals of power, betrayal, and collapse.